Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 166. It is Tuesday here in Cincinnati, and the weather is warming up a little bit. It's kind of grayish, sort of overcast outside, but the sun has been peeking in and out, so I'm curious to see how the day unfolds. But spring is here. Everything is turning green. I had to take a picture of the grass yesterday because the color had completely changed. We were in spring green instead of that fall brownish yellow green. It's like overnight, over the weekend, all the grass just changed its color, and it's so vibrant and beautiful. So this morning I was meditating about life, life stuff, all the things that need to be cleared so that I can show up and do my work and create in the ways that I create. So, I meditate about stuff. But I guess we all do, right? The picture that kept coming to me in my meditation, it was of a scene that was in the play Hamilton. And I don't know that I shared a lot about that play. I remember sharing that it was really profound and beautiful, and I saw it with my daughter, who is one of the biggest Hamilton fans, I believe, alive at this time on our planet. So I want to give her complete cred before I move on with any reference ever to Hamilton. But we were sitting in these beautiful seats that had been gifted to us by our family friends, and packed theater, just these beautiful, incredible actors on stage pouring their heart and soul into their performance, and this amazing set and the lights and just everything. It was incredible. And there's one scene that I've thought of so many times since we saw it a couple months ago, and that's all I could picture this morning in my meditation. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of the background of just that moment, and then we'll explore why this is so present for me today. So the story of Hamilton basically is about Secretary of Treasury Alexander Hamilton, who was in that role during the presidency of George Washington in 1790-something. He had an affair with this woman, Maria Reynolds, and during the process of the affair, her husband found out or knew all along, it's not quite clear, and so he started blackmailing Hamilton and asking him for money. And Hamilton at that time was highly politically activist, changing the ways that things were being done, helping to set up, all of these institutions in this new government that was being formed of the United States. So he had a very high profile, and the blackmailing that happened was for money because this man Reynolds knew that, the prestige and the status that Hamilton had at that time, he could get money as blackmail because Hamilton wouldn't want to lose that. So this continued for a while, and then apparently Reynolds was put in jail for something else, and so he started sharing that he had this control or power over Hamilton, and news started to leak, and as all sex scandals seemed to unfold, the truth eventually came to light. And so there's this point in the real story of Hamilton where he decides to write his own experience, his own story about what he went through. And they ended up renaming it the Reynolds pamphlet. It's the story about his relationship with Maria Reynolds and the blackmail that happened with her husband. In the play, it is one of the most incredible moments. Hamilton is standing in the center of the stage, and they have a round table in the stage built into it, so that it can move in a circle even as the person in the middle looks like they're standing still. And so the actors can stand on the moving part and the floor itself will turn around. So in the scene, this is right before Alexander Hamilton knows that he is about to release this news information that is going to change his life. It is going to change his relationship with his wife. It is going to change how he is perceived by society. It's going to change the legacy that he has for his work, for his life, for everything he's contributed. He knows he's about to unleash this bomb, this hurricane. And so he's standing in the center of the stage and he's singing the song, and the words, I'll read just a little bit of it. This is written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It says, "In the eye of a hurricane, there is quiet for just a moment, a yellow sky." And then he talks in the story about how he was actually in a hurricane when he was 17 and what he watched and how he saw it happen, and that, his way out of the hurricane was to write. And so he wrote, all of these letters, all of these documents, all of these dissertations about, the government, about how to set up this new form of being in the United States. Like he wrote, and that's the way that he lifted himself up out of poverty and out of, the story of his past. It's how he elevated himself into the role that he was able to have at that time in the government. He wrote. And so he's standing on stage and he says, "I'm going to write my way out of this mess. I'm going to write my way out of it." And as he's standing there, the turntable's moving and the people on stage, the characters, like some of them are holding the furniture. So it literally looks like the furniture is flying around him and the people are flying around him, and he's just like strong and steady right in the center of all of this chaos. And the crazy part is, you're watching it from the audience, is he created all of it. He created every drop of the chaos. He created all that was going to happen. And he's just standing there fully present, quiet, still, knowing what's about to go on, what's about to be unleashed. It is so incredible. It's hard to put into words like how impactful and powerful that one scene was, and then, the lyrics that go with it. Okay, so that's Hamilton. That's the story of the play and the moment and how it felt to experience it. What was coming up for me in my meditation time today, when I was seeing that scene in my mind's eye, and then asking, why? Like, why do I keep seeing this moment? And why is that song so powerful? And why are the lyrics playing in my mind over and over again? And there's many reasons. It feels to me now, as we move into April and spring, like this is this time of birthing, rebirthing, regeneration, new coming out of the ground, something being formed that has been brewing all winter. All of these beautiful plants are starting to peak up, and each one has its own color and shape and timing, and our joy is just to watch the ground and the grass and the flower beds and see it all birth, to watch on the trees as each of the individual colors of the leaves are coming forward. It's just an amazing time in this regeneration period of spring. And when I was thinking about that scene in Hamilton, it's like we all have those moments. For us individually, they're going to be different than for other people. But we all have those moments where we know something is shifting, like something profound is underway, or something dramatic is unfolding in our lives, in our journeys. For both of my babies, when I was pregnant with both of them, I remember for my daughter, when we were in the delivery room, she was taking a long time, and there was a period of probably 3 or 4 hours at least where nothing was happening. And I just remember my mom knitting or crocheting at the side of the bed next to me, and just this pause. It literally was the eye of the hurricane. It's like something magnificent is so imminent. It's just about to arrive, and just being that still in the moment of it. I remember that with my son. We had some complications in the pregnancy, and I just remember most of the pregnancy, the last few months, being so present with my body, with this beautiful being that was forming inside of me. And then, that was years ago. That was way before I started to awaken or to become more energetically aware and intuitive. And I missed half of what was going on inside of my body with me and that beautiful little soul. Probably because that's the way he wanted it. He's so private. But I remember that same feeling when I met with the lawyer, knowing, I'm going to file papers and we're going to begin this divorce process. That feeling inside of my body, I watched that being played out on stage with Hamilton, like that, oh shit, what's about to happen here? Life will never be the same again. And also, what Hamilton illustrated so beautifully in that moment on stage is there's this momentum that builds. It's like a hurricane. I guess you can stop it, but the momentum of the energy is carrying you forward into this next phase of your journey, and there's no stopping that momentum without, severe, like, whoa. Yeah, I don't know if I described that very well, but there's a sweeping up energetically that carries the process forward. It carries you through that transition. And when you align with what you know is true for you, like for me, when I aligned with the truth of it's time for this relationship to complete and, each of us to begin our separate journeys, there's a momentum and knowing that carries you forward that is based on truth. And that power, when you're in alignment with it, it's a force that isn't wanting to be stopped, because I knew it was carrying me into what was coming next in my journey and what I had called in for myself and for my family. I remember a few years later when I first met my husband-to-be, the man I'm married to now, this beautiful husband of mine. I remember when we first realized, like, uh-oh, as my friend just recently told me when he met somebody, when I had that moment with Brad, it was just like, oh boy, something's happening, and so I called a pause. I asked for that quiet eye of the hurricane, a soft space to be present with what was about to shift in my life. And Brad's energy is like a hurricane. He is a force to be reckoned with. And there was a big part of me that knew, like, whoa, whoa. I'm aligned with truth, and also, like, the momentum of what is shifting here is very powerful. And there's a pause needed to be still and be really present with my choice to step into this, to cross into the next threshold. I felt that same sort of energy when I left the woman that I was partnering with in my coaching work 3.5 years ago, when I was knowing, like, the next transition for me is to start my own business, and that requires a separation from the space I'm currently in. The work that she was doing, we had arrived in different places, and so there was this momentum of my own truth carrying me through a threshold of I'm no longer in alignment with working in this energy field. I need to move to my own energy field. And that eye of the hurricane, I remember the day that I knew, like, this is the day I'm going to leave, being so still and so fully, like every cell in my body was alive with the truth, the power that something is changing. And I am so steady in what needs to change that no matter what hurricane is about to blow up, I'm okay. And I'm doing what is best for me and for all. And it felt like that scene in Hamilton where I was standing in the middle of the world blowing up around me. The chaos, the movement, the energy. And it took a really focused effort to stay in that quiet, still space as I moved through that transition over the next few weeks, the next couple of months. It took really steady focus and presence to move through that transition. That was one of the hardest transitions I believe I've gone through. Yeah, life brings us these expansions, these stretchings out of our soul, of our human journey. We have this very familiar way we know of how to be and how to act and how to express ourselves. And then we can feel that momentum building within and wanting to stretch and expand us wider, increase our capacity, increase the amount of love and truth and light that we are sending out into the world. And when we feel that momentum building inside of us, it's so easy to just fall into the chaos, to fall into the hurricane that starts to happen when things change. It takes really focused strength to stand still in that quiet eye of the hurricane and be steady and be strong and stay the course. So it feels to me like there's another round of energy expanding for so many of us. A new moon on Friday in Aries is not something to dismiss. The Aries sign is very strong, very powerful. My son is an Aries. They have a way of how to be and do. And so that energy is very powerful. And the new moon, which is about intentions and really aligning with new possibilities, there is a momentum that is carrying all of us as a humanity towards this next shift of consciousness, this next expansion. And so I encourage you, just like for me, find those moments of stillness. Find your own quiet eye in the center of whatever change and activity and hurricane may be happening around you. Be really still and really present, and tune into what is your truth, what is the knowing that is carrying you through that next threshold, that next transition. And then keep coming back to that truth. That's the quiet eye. It's within each one of us, and it takes some spaciousness and some attention and some time to be present with that. Yeah, if you want inspiration, listen to the song Hurricane from Hamilton and see if you can find a copy of a video somewhere that shows that scene. I'm sure somebody's got it available on YouTube somewhere. It is really amazing the way that they illustrate that energetic. It's good. Thank you for tuning into this vibration of pure love. I invite you to join me in aligning with the optimal health of your mind, body, spirit in the virtual community of Viv's Energy Gym. You can learn more at mysouljourney.com. Let's take this message of Gaia's love out into all of our relationships and communities today. So much love from my heart to yours.